particular switch. This is leaf 1. So this is description. It's just here for us to see later when we do the drift check. And because it's a mistake, we're going to want to overwrite this change. And we'll see how easy we can incorporate that through our policy in a workflow in the automation platform. In leaf 2, we create an interface that is correct. So we're going to want to merge that in because we're changing the device directly from out of band. We want to merge that with the intended config that we're going to push from our source of truth, also in our workflow. So this is a good change, and we'll also see this when we look at the diff check as well. And when I say diff, I mean drift, just using that interchangeably. So here's a workflow. This is how we can stitch together multiple playbooks together and run them with logic to allow us to accomplish our drift check. So we'll start with the source of truth, the intended config, which was rendered from the group vars and the host vars and the Jinja 2 template. And this is just an example of what those configs look like. We're going to hone into the logging and also the loopback interface that we created out of band. But there's a lot of other changes that we're making as well in this Jinja 2 template that you see to the right. So this is just an example for you. So when we look at the diff check, it creates a notification in our workflow to say, hey, you need to review the diff, and also you need to update the policy. What do you want to do when you run this configuration change, as the approver? So we click on a cross-link to our diff, and we can see that the dashes, the before equal the device configuration, the switch. The after is our intended config, what we want to change. So we want to add logging from the group vars, all the other pluses or additional configs that we want to add. But what's important here is that loopback 100. This was a mistake, so we want to remove this configuration, and we will. And then moving further down, we'll take a look at leaf 2. Also, we have the logging configurations from the group vars and the other things that we've added as well, like the VLANs. And then now loopback 100. This one we want to keep this change. So we're going to merge these changes together, the intended config and what was already there. So here's how we do this in a playbook. This is a config module from iOS, from Cisco, for the Catalyst switches. And we can run this at the playbook level, or we can double click into the task. Here we're running it from the job template at the playbook level. We're comparing the startup config on the device, and the running config is pointing to that configuration file that we rendered from the Jinja 2 template. Now the second thing we wanted to do is we have to make a decision on policy. We want to update our inventory to list out what devices are overridden and which ones are merged. So leaf 1 needs to be overridden, and leaf 2 needs to be merged because we want to keep that configuration. And we're able to do this in our workflow because we have the ability to sync from our repo. So we're going to merge this into our repo, and when we approve this, we'll pull this back down from our repo and we'll have it available for subsequent playbooks that we run. So we'll go ahead and commit and push this. So now it's updated into the repo, so AAP can access it and pull that down. And you can see now we have to approve, right? So we're going to go ahead and approve our change because we reviewed it and we're comfortable with it. And we'll move forward. The next step in that workflow is to sync to the repo. So we'll pull down that variable file that we created for our policy to declare what we want to do with those configs. And then once we do that, we're able to push those configs where leaf 1 will be overridden and leaf 2 will be merged. So that's what's happening right now. And then yay, it completed. Now we also had a rollback condition if it were to fail, but it completed so we didn't have to go to that step. We can validate leaf 1. Loopback 100 should have been removed. It's no longer there. But we should have the logging configs and all the intended config from our group vars and our host vars should be there. So we'll take a look at the logging. It exists. Then we simply move over to leaf 2, where we should still maintain loopback 100 because it was merged, as well as all the other changes. So the logging and everything else that was a part of the intended configs. All right, so that one is there. And we should still have our other configs, so we can merge those two together. Okay, so that concludes the I didn't realize the sound was going to be so loud on that. So just a couple of key takeaways to close this out. So the idea here is to empower the network engineer or the other experts across the IT domains, but not take away their ability to troubleshoot. But over time, giving them the ability to troubleshoot quicker because you can introduce more automation around troubleshooting as well. So we see this as a paradigm of empowerment and not taking away anything from the network engineer in operations. So that's it. Thank you. If you have any questions, do we have time for questions? No questions? Okay, so thank you, and enjoy the rest of the sessions.